The pyramid complex of Giza is one of the most fascinating archaeological sites on Earth. The vast size and intricate design of the structures have been fascinating scholars for centuries. But could there be more deep underground? There are legends and rumors that make reference to various passageways and chambers that lie under the sands of Giza. In one such chamber, under the Sphinx, lies a great vault of knowledge that was left behind by first inhabitants of Egypt. Scholars claim that this lost library contains knowledge that dates back to antediluvian times. But is it possible an ancient hall of records lies underneath the sands of Giza? Let's find out. The legends surrounding the Hall of Records. The civilization that once existed in ancient Egypt has been dubbed one of the most advanced in history. From megalithic construction to their ability to precisely shape and carve some of the hardest stones on the planet. Researchers have long suggested that ancient Egyptians were more advanced than conventional archaeologists give them credit for. The pyramids of Giza, including the monument of the Sphinx, has provided archaeologists with some of the most compelling evidence to suggest that these ancient builders had knowledge vastly beyond what was thought capable during their era. But where exactly did they obtain this knowledge? One theory that's been suggested on various occasions by numerous scholars, researchers, and independent thinkers over the past few centuries is the idea that the dynastic Egyptians inherited many of these megalithic sites. Some suggest that the original builders of the pyramids, which contain no hieroglyphs nor burials, were a lost civilization. They may have been linked to the legendary Atlantis. Researchers have even gone far as to suggest there's proof of this, and lies in a lost library situated under the Sphinx. This lost chamber is known as the Hall of Records. According to various legends, the great deity of Egypt, Thoth, god of writing, alchemy, and wisdom, was the first to report on a library of knowledge that lay beneath the sands at Giza. Here he kept the essential knowledge of many arts, including alchemy, astrology, mathematics, medicine, and magic. But is this a mere legend, or could there be some evidence to support this? One of the most popular theories surrounding this lost chamber of knowledge comes to us from Edgar Cayce, a clairvoyant of the 20th century. Cayce supposedly went into a deep trance and claims to have seen a vision of this past in which refugees from Atlantis made their way to Egypt over 10,000 years ago. Here they built many megalithic structures and buried their ancient secrets in a hall of records under the Great Sphinx. Cayce went on to suggest that underneath the right paw of the Sphinx, there's a shaft that leads to a corridor, eventually bringing you to the chamber. Cayce thought himself to be a reincarnation of an ancient priest who lived in Atlantis, which is why he could see all of this during his trance. Authors and researchers such as Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval have also mentioned the idea of a lost library underneath the Sphinx in recent years. But is there any archaeological proof to suggest that there could be an ancient library beneath the vast complex of structures on the Giza Plateau? Evidence that could point towards a hall of records. For centuries, scholars and explorers have been aware of various passageways, tunnels, and chambers that lie inside the Great Sphinx. While some are of known origin, others are merely speculative based on the works of various texts. After Cayce's vision, various researchers went in search of the lost Hall of Records. This even prompts several American researchers to obtain a permit from Egyptian authorities to drill into the paw of the Sphinx. While this would horrify modern archaeologists, the American team decided to drill 7 meters into the paw. Yet they never came across any tunnel, and the experiments remained fairly controversial to this day. However, this was only the beginning of the search for the lost Hall of Records. Later, researchers were actually able to come across some compelling evidence that suggests there could be something under the Sphinx. During geophysical surveys, American and Japanese archaeological teams found various voids in the limestone beneath the Sphinx enclosure. Archaeologists also discovered 2 small entrances to inner chambers within the body of the Sphinx. One could be found beneath the tail and the back of the monument, while another is located in the upper body of the Sphinx. Yet the most compelling of these is an entrance that lies at the front of the Sphinx under its left paw. Could this be what Casey saw during his trance and he simply got the paws mixed up? The Sphinx's left paw did, in fact, show various signs of underground cavities during the initial geophysical surveys. This has led some researchers to believe there are ancient tunnel systems under the sand at Giza. Could the void under the left paw of the Sphinx be one of the passageways that leads to the rumored Hall of Records? Over time, many of these ideas were reduced to natural cavities and simply misidentifications on behalf of the survey. Following this, Egyptologists abandoned the idea that any kind of tunnel may lie under the Sphinx's left paw. Because of this abrupt end to the search for any kind of structure under the Sphinx, various independent researchers have since called out Egyptologists. The researchers believe that a small number of Egyptologists have hidden any possible evidence that would suggest there are various secret passageways and tunnels under the Sphinx. This has led to various theories that claim that reasoning behind this is that these tunnels are so ancient that Egyptologists and archaeologists would have to rewrite much of ancient Egypt's history. Some scholars have even gone as far as to say that the tunnels and passageways, as well as the Sphinx itself, were built by the Zep-Tep culture. Zep-Tepi is not necessarily a name, but instead a period. It translates as first time, relating to remote epoch before the dynastic Egyptians. During this period, it is said that the gods themselves lived in ancient Egypt, and many have speculated that the Zep-Tepi culture may have been influenced or had links to the refugees of Atlantis. The knowledge contained within the Hall of Records. Legends state that the god kings of Zep-Tepi were advanced in many ways, evident by the high level of megalithic and precise stonework found at the oldest sites of ancient Egypt. According to some, they were master astronomers, seafarers, and builders who had various forms of technology unlike anything we have today. It is said they were the builders of the megalithic sites of grandeur that lie across Giza and wider Egypt. When they arrived, following a great cataclysmic event that destroyed their homeland and much of the world, they knew they had to salvage what they could of their culture. Thus, they built a great library under the sand so they could store all of their knowledge for later generations. Legends state that this vast library contains tablets, scrolls, and books telling the real story of humanity's long and fascinating history, dating back long before the flood. Here we also find information on how ancient ancestors built such megalithic sites with extreme precision and the tools they used to do so. The tablets containing information on the technology that existed during this era includes devices that allowed the ancient builders to travel around the world. One can only imagine what could have been recorded on these scrolls and tablets. Some legends even suggest that they were able to harness energy to open stargates and travel from one distant part of the Earth to another in seconds. And the source of this energy used for their technology was partly due to the structural layout of the pyramids themselves. Could it be possible that Zep-Tepi culture or the descendants of Atlantis did, in fact, build the underground passageways and tunnels under the Great Sphinx? Could they have done this with the sole purpose of storing knowledge of their now lost civilization and their advancements for later generations? Legends state that once inside the deepest and oldest parts of the inner Sphinx, one would come across a tunnel leading directly to a secret collection of chambers that lie under the Great Pyramid. This is where numerous researchers have suggested the ancient lost Hall of Records lies. So as it stands, there is no concrete proof that any kind of library exists under the Great Sphinx. While it still remains up for debate due to the clear evidence that various tunnels and possibly even chambers exist under the Sphinx, a lot more archaeological investigation will be necessary before we can make any final conclusions. What do you think about the possibility of an ancient Hall of Records under the Great Sphinx? Do you think it was built by the Zep-Tepi culture or refugees of ancient Atlantis? And if so, what kind of knowledge is held in this great library? Let us know your opinions in the comments.